The stars looked different from the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel. Admiral John Miller stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the massive Krazid ship approached. It was 3 times the size of the largest human spacecraft ever built, its hull covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. "They're here," said Lisa Garcia, adjusting her formal diplomatic uniform. As Earth's lead negotiator, she had prepared for this moment for months. "Are you ready, Admiral?" Miller nodded. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. In that short time, they had established colonies on Mars, Europa, and 3 planets in nearby star systems. They thought they were alone in the galaxy until 6 months ago, when the Krazid Empire sent its first message. "I still don't understand why an empire that controls half the galaxy would care about us," Miller said quietly. Lisa's expression remained neutral. "Everyone wants something, Admiral. Our job is to figure out what they want and make sure it doesn't cost us too much." The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. 4 Krazid representatives entered the room. They walked on 2 legs like humans but stood nearly 8 feet tall. Their skin was a pale blue with patterns similar to those on their ships. Their eyes, 3 of them arranged in a triangle on their faces, blinked independently of each other. The tallest Krazid stepped forward. "I am First Emissary Kelvor of the Eternal Krazid Empire. We bring greetings from Emperor Vorax, ruler of the 5,000 worlds." Lisa stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am diplomat Lisa Garcia of Earth. This is Admiral John Miller of the United Earth Defense Forces. We welcome you on behalf of all humanity." The meeting room was designed to impress. The walls displayed images of Earth's greatest achievements: the pyramids, space stations, the terraform projects on Mars. The Krazid seemed unimpressed. "Your species is young," Kelvor said, his translator converting the clicking sounds of his language into English. "But we see potential in you. The Emperor believes humans could be valuable additions to our empire." Miller's jaw tightened. "We're not looking to be added to anyone's empire. We're interested in trade and peaceful exchange of knowledge." Kelvor's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Of course, the Emperor respects the sovereignty of all civilized species. We offer protection, technology, and access to our trade networks. In return, we ask only for reasonable tribute and acknowledgement of the Emperor's authority in interstellar matters." The negotiations continued for days. The Krazid offered technology that seemed centuries beyond human capabilities: medical advances that could extend human lifespans, energy systems that would end resource shortages, defensive systems that would protect Earth from any threat. In EUR, Private Miller expressed his concerns. "They're offering too much and asking too little. I don't trust them." Lisa understood his worries, but the potential benefits were too great to ignore. "The Security Council has already voted. We're accepting their initial treaty terms while we learn more about them." 1 month later, the treaty was signed. Krazid representatives established embassies on Earth and the largest colony world, New Eden. Human scientists were invited to study at Krazid technical institutes. Everything seemed peaceful. That changed on a quiet Tuesday morning. Commander Ethan Price was overseeing defense system upgrades on New Eden when the alarm sounded. "What's happening?" he demanded, entering the colony's command center. Lieutenant Samantha Collins was at the communication station, her face pale. "Sir, multiple unidentified ships just appeared in orbit. They're not responding to hails." "Show me," Price ordered. The main screen displayed 5 massive warships, their design similar to the Krazid diplomatic vessels but bristling with weapons. Before Price could give any orders, the ships opened fire. The colony's shields, installed by the Krazid themselves 2 weeks earlier, failed instantly. "Evacuate the civilian sectors," Price shouted. "Get everyone to the emergency shelters." Collins tried to send a distress signal to Earth, but all communications were being jammed. "Sir, we can't get a message out." The attack was devastating and precise. The colony's defense systems were disabled first, followed by power plants and communication arrays. Then came the ground troops, hundreds of Krazid soldiers in armor that made them look even larger and more intimidating. Price organized the colony's small military force as best he could. Defensive positions. Protect the civilian shelters. But their weapons seemed to barely affect the Krazid armor. Lieutenant Collins joined him at the front line, firing her rifle at the advancing aliens. What do they want? Why are they attacking? Us. I don't know, Price admitted, but we need to hold them off as long as possible. The battle was short and one-sided. Within 3 hours, all resistance had been crushed. Price, Collins, and the surviving defenders were rounded up and forced to their knees in the colony's central plaza. Hundreds of civilians were brought out from the shelters and lined up nearby. First Emissary Kelvor walked among the captives, looking almost sad. Your species showed such promise. The Emperor had high hopes for you. Price glared up at him. We had a treaty. Yes, and you violated it by hiding your true nature, Kelvor replied. Our scientists discovered the truth about humans. You are too dangerous to be allowed freedom. Collins spoke up. What are you talking about? We've done nothing to threaten you. Kelvor's 3 eyes focused on her. It is not what you have done. It is what you are. Humans adapt too quickly. You learn too eagerly. Given enough time, you would become a threat to the stability of the Empire. A new Krazid approached, wearing elaborate armor decorated with symbols of rank. I am Fleet Commander Gorlak. You are now prisoners of the Krazid Empire. The strong among you will serve in our labor camps. The intelligent will assist our research divisions. Price tried to stand but was forced back down by a guard. Earth will never surrender to you. Gorlak made a sound that might have been laughter. Earth has already been given its choice. Submit or be destroyed. Even now, our main fleet approaches your home world. The prisoners were loaded onto transport ships. Through a viewport, Price and Collins watched as parts of the colony were systematically destroyed by Krazid weapons. Homes, schools and parks, places built with hope for humanity's future among the stars, were reduced to rubble. What do we do now? Collins whispered. Price watched as the blue curve of New Eden disappeared below them. His colony, his home, was now under enemy control. We survive, he said firmly. We learn everything we can about them, and we find a way to fight back. As the ship accelerated away from New Eden, none of the human prisoners realized that this was just the beginning. The Krazid Empire had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, crushing hundreds of alien civilizations who resisted them, but they had never encountered humans before. They did not understand that by attacking humanity, they had awakened something that would change the galaxy forever. The prison planet Terminus lived up to its name. A harsh world of black stone mountains and red dust deserts, it served as the final destination for those who defied the Krazid Empire. Commander Ethan Price stepped off the transport ship and into a nightmare. Hundreds of humans from New Eden Colony stood in lines being processed by Krazid guards who showed no mercy to those who moved too slowly. Keep moving, a guard snarled, shoving Price forward with the butt of his weapon. 3 weeks had passed since the attack on New Eden. 3 weeks of being packed into dark transport ships with barely enough food and water to survive. Price had used that time to learn what he could about their captors, listening to guards' conversations and watching their routines. Lieutenant Samantha Collins stayed close to him as they were herded toward a massive stone building carved into the side of a mountain. I counted at least 6 other transport ships landing, she whispered. There must be thousands of us here. And more coming, Price replied quietly. I overheard a guard say they've taken 3 more colonies. Inside the building, the humans were separated by gender and skill sets. Price watched helplessly as Collins was led away with other women. The Krazid seemed particularly interested in humans with technical or scientific backgrounds. A tall Krazid in a white uniform approached the group Price was in. Unlike the blue-skinned soldiers, this one had pale green skin with more pronounced markings. I am Science Director Zekval, he announced, his translator making his voice sound almost musical. You are fortunate. Instead of mining like most prisoners, you will contribute to our understanding of your species. Price was taken with 20 others to a facility that seemed to be part laboratory, part prison. The cells were small but clean. The food, while bland, was nutritious. And the work at first seemed simple enough: physical tests, cognitive assessments, problem-solving tasks. But as days turned into weeks, the true nature of their situation became clear. They were not just prisoners, they were test subjects. Zekval and his team were studying human capabilities with increasing intensity. During a strength assessment, Price was paired with a man named Rick Martinez, a Marine captain who had been stationed on New Eden. As they lifted increasingly heavy weights under the watchful eyes of Krazid scientists, Martinez whispered, "They're comparing us to other species they've conquered." Price nodded slightly, and they seemed surprised by the results. Later, in the mess hall, a large room where prisoners were allowed to eat together under heavy guard, Price began quietly organizing the humans. He found natural leaders like Martinez and an engineer named Olivia Kim, who had been working on New Eden's infrastructure when the attack came. "We need to understand this place," Price told them during a meal. "Lay out schedules, weaknesses in their security." Kim nodded. "I've been in the technical section. They're having us work on their systems, trying to improve them. But I'm learning how they function in the process." Martinez leaned in closer. "The guards change shifts at what seems to be 6-hour intervals. The ones on the third shift are always less alert." 2 months into their captivity, Price finally saw Lieutenant Collins again. She had lost weight, and there was a new scar on her forearm, but her eyes still held the same determination. "They've got me working in communications," she said quickly during their brief meeting in a corridor. "They think I'm helping them decode human military transmissions, but I've been learning their systems instead." Price smiled for the first time in weeks. "Can you get messages out?" "Not yet. But I'm working on it," Collins replied before being led away by a guard. That night, Price was taken to Zekval's private laboratory. The science director was reviewing holographic displays showing human biological data. "Fascinating," Zekval said, not looking up. "Your species has remarkable adaptability. The others showed you our strength tests, yes? The weights get progressively heavier each day, yet humans continue to improve, while other species plateau quickly." Price said nothing. "And your pain tolerance?" Zekval continued, finally turning to face him. "Most impressive. Other species beg for mercy at levels humans seem to barely notice." "What do you want from us?" Price finally asked. Zekval's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Initially, labor and resources. Now, understanding. You are anomalies in our experience. Most species we conquer either break quickly or fight foolishly and are destroyed. Humans do neither." "We're not going to break," Price said firmly. "No," Zekval agreed. "I believe you won't. That makes you dangerous. The Emperor was right to order your containment." Days later, during exercise period in an outdoor yard, Martinez approached Price with news. "There's a new group of prisoners coming in tomorrow from Earth's orbital defense stations. The guards are talking about it." Price felt a chill. "They've reached Earth's orbit already?" "Apparently," Martinez confirmed. "But they're saying Earth's defenses are stronger than expected. The Krazid lost several ships in the first attack." Hope flickered in Price's chest. Earth was fighting back. That night, Price couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Earth, about the billions of people who might soon face the same fate as the colonists of New Eden. He was startled when his cell door quietly slid open. Lieutenant Collins stood there with Olivia Kim. "We don't have much time," Collins whispered. Kim figured out how to bypass the door locks. "How?" Price asked, amazed. Kim smiled grimly. "They've been having me repair their systems. I've learned more than they realized." Collins led them through dark corridors to a small communications room. "I can't send messages out yet, but I've tapped into their network. They're planning something big, Commander." On a screen, Price saw Krazid battle plans, massive fleets positioned throughout human-controlled space. "They're preparing for a full-scale invasion of Earth," he realized. "It gets worse," Collins said, pointing to another display. "They're using information they've extracted from military prisoners to plan their attack. They know our defense systems, our protocols, everything. Price studied the displays, his mind racing. We need to warn Earth somehow, and we need to disrupt their plans from here. Kim looked nervous. If we're caught, if we do nothing, Earth falls, Price said firmly. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather die trying to save our world than live as their lab rats. Martinez nodded. I'm in. What's the plan? Price looked at the small group, an intelligence officer, an engineer, and a Marine. Not much of a resistance against an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. But humans had always accomplished the impossible when backed into a corner. First, we build a network, Price said. Find every prisoner willing to take risks. Second, we gather intelligence, everything about Krazid weaknesses, their plans, their technology. And third, he paused, his expression hardening. We prepare to take control of this prison when the time is right. Collins checked her stolen access device. Guards coming. We need to go. As they slipped back to their cells, Price felt something he hadn't experienced since the day New Eden fell. Purpose. The Krazid might have the advantage in technology and numbers, but they had underestimated human resilience and determination. The strongest alien empire in the galaxy was about to learn a painful lesson about humanity. General Alan Carter stood at the window of the United Earth Defense Council chamber, looking out at the smoke rising from what had once been downtown Singapore. 3 Krazid ships had broken through Earth's orbital defenses yesterday. They were destroyed, but not before they unleashed devastating weapons on major cities across Asia. General, they're ready for you, said Strategic Director Nicole Warren, her tablet displaying the latest casualty reports. Carter nodded and turned to face the room. The remaining council members sat around a large table, their faces grim. Some joined virtually, their holograms flickering occasionally as power fluctuations hit the grid. The Krazid have attacked 7 of our colony worlds and 3 orbital stations, Carter began. We've lost contact with all of them. Intelligence suggests they've taken prisoners rather than simply destroying the populations. Why? Asked the representative from the European Union. What do they want with our people? Warren stepped forward. We believe they're using human prisoners as labor and for scientific research. The Krazid seem particularly interested in human adaptability. The council chamber grew quiet as everyone processed this information. What about military response? Asked the African Union representative. Can we fight back effectively? Carter's expression remained neutral, but his eyes revealed his concern. The Krazid have technology centuries beyond ours. Their ships have shields that can absorb most of our weapons. Their energy weapons cut through our defenses like they're not even there. So we surrender? Someone asked, voice tight with fear. No, Carter said firmly. We adapt. We have 2 advantages. First, they're underestimating us. Second, we've been preparing for threats like this since humans first looked at the stars. He touched a control on the table, and a hologram appeared showing a massive ship under construction in a hidden facility beneath the lunar surface. The USS Defiant, Carter explained. Our first true battleship built with every advancement in weapons technology we've developed over the last decade. And these, he changed the display to show smaller, sleek craft, are ghost strike vessels, designed to be nearly undetectable by conventional scanners. Warren took over the briefing. We've also accelerated production of our new plasma-based weapon systems and quantum shields. They won't match Krazid technology, but they'll give us a fighting chance. One council member shook her head. Even with these advances, we're outnumbered thousands to 1. Which is why we need to be smarter than them, Carter replied. And we need to get our people back. 2 days later, Commander Ryan Jackson stood in the loading bay of the ghost ship Nightshade. His team of 12 Special Forces operators checked their equipment one last time. Their mission was both simple and nearly impossible. Infiltrate the Krazid prison world called Terminus and extract as many human prisoners as possible. This is a suicide mission, said Lieutenant Kelly Wright, adjusting her stealth suit. Jackson smiled slightly. Maybe. But if the intel we gathered from the destroyed Krazid ships is correct, their prison world has minimal defenses. They've never needed them before. Because no one's ever escaped, Wright pointed out. No one's ever been human before, Jackson replied. The Nightshade slipped past crazed patrols using technology reverse-engineered from debris collected after the battles in Earth orbit. The ship's hull absorbed sensor scans instead of reflecting them, making it nearly invisible to Krazid detection systems. As they approached Terminus, Jackson studied the scans of the planet's surface. There's the main compound. Looks like thousands of life signs consistent with human physiology. And hundreds of Krazid guards, Wright added. We can't extract everyone with one ship. Jackson nodded. We're not here to rescue everyone. We're here for high-value prisoners with technical knowledge and intelligence on Krazid capabilities, and to plant communication devices so we can coordinate with any resistance inside. The Nightshade landed 3 miles from the prison compound, under cover of darkness. Jackson's team moved silently across the red desert landscape, their suits adjusting to match the color and texture of their surroundings. Inside the prison compound, Olivia Kim had just finished another long day working on Krazid systems. The resistance network that Commander Price had started now included over 200 prisoners. They communicated using a tap code developed by Lieutenant Collins, passing messages during work shifts and mealtimes. Kim was returning to her cell when she spotted unusual movement near the perimeter fence. Not Krazid. The shapes were too small, too human. She quickly tapped a message to the prisoner next to her who passed it along. Within minutes, Commander Price was aware of potential rescuers. He immediately implemented the distraction plan. They had prepared for such an opportunity. In the north section of the compound, several small fires broke out simultaneously in non-essential areas. As guards rushed to respond, Price led a small team to the section where Kim had spotted the intruders. Outside the fence, Jackson's team cut through the barrier using tools designed to work silently. They were surprised when they found humans, waiting for them. Commander Ethan Price, New Eden Colony Defense, Price whispered in greeting. Jackson nodded. Commander Ryan Jackson, Earth Special Forces. We're here to extract key personnel. Price gestured to Kim. This is Engineer Olivia Kim. She's learned more about Krazid systems than anyone. She needs to get back to Earth. What about you? Jackson asked. I'm staying, Price said firmly. We've built a resistance here. If we all leave, the Krazid will just increase security. But if we stay, we can continue to gather intelligence and sabotage their operations from within. Jackson hesitated, then nodded. We brought communication devices, quantum entangled, undetectable by any known Krazid technology. Kim spoke up urgently. You need to know. The Krazid are planning a massive attack on Earth. They're gathering their fleet now. Thousands of ships. How long do we have? Jackson asked. 2 months, maybe less, Kim replied. They're still studying human resistance capabilities after losing those ships in Earth orbit. It made them cautious. Jackson handed Price a small device. This will let you communicate directly with Earth Command. And here, he gave him another object that looked like a simple metal cylinder. This contains schematics for weapons you can build from materials available here. Price took them gratefully. We'll be ready when the time comes. Alarms suddenly blared across the compound. They've discovered the break-in, Price said. You need to go now. Jackson quickly selected 17 prisoners based on the list of critical skills he had been given. Along with Kim, they prepared to move out. Good luck, Commander, he said. To Price, you too, Price replied. Tell Earth we're still fighting. As Jackson's team escaped with the freed prisoners, Price and the remaining humans returned to their cells before they could be missed. The Krazid never realized it was humans who had orchestrated the break-in. They assumed their own security. Systems had failed. 2 weeks later, Olivia Kim stood before the Earth Defense Council, sharing everything she had learned about Krazid technology and tactics. Their ships have 3 key weaknesses, she explained, displaying schematics on the main screen. Their shield generators can't handle rapid frequency shifts in weapon impacts. Their command structure is entirely hierarchical. If you remove the command ship, the others become much less effective. And most importantly, they've grown complacent after thousands of years of easy victories. General Carter studied the information intently. Can we exploit these weaknesses with our current technology? Yes, Kim said confidently. And there's something else you should know. The prisoners on Terminus aren't just sitting there waiting to be rescued. They're organizing, gathering intelligence, and preparing to fight back. For the first time in weeks, Carter smiled. Then it's time we showed the Krazid what happens when you attack humans. That afternoon, the United Earth government formally declared all-out war against the Krazid Empire. The USS Defiant moved silently through the darkness of space, its black hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. On the bridge, Captain Frank Russo studied the tactical display showing 5 Krazid supply ships moving toward a staging area near Jupiter. Weapon status? Russo asked quietly, as if the enemy might hear him across the vacuum of space. Plasma cannons charged. Quantum torpedoes ready, reported his weapons officer. Russo nodded. Engage stealth systems and move into position. The Defiant was humanity's new pride. A ship built with technology partly reverse-engineered from Krazid, wreckage and partly developed through human innovation. It wasn't as large as Krazid battleships, but it had advantages they never expected. They don't see us, the sensor officer confirmed. Their scans are passing right through our position. Russo allowed himself a small smile. Target their lead ship's propulsion and weapon systems. Fire when ready. The Defiant's weapons lashed out, bright beams of energy that constantly shifted frequency, confusing the Krazid shields. The alien ship's defenses flickered and failed as the beams cut through critical systems. Second target, Russo ordered calmly. One by one, the Defiant disabled the Krazid ships. They never had time to send distress signals. As the final ship drifted powerless, Russo gave his next command. Boarding teams deploy. Remember the mission objectives. Take prisoners for questioning and download their navigational databases. This was the 4th such raid in 2 weeks. Earth forces were no longer just defending. They were striking back. On Terminus, Commander Ethan Price knelt in a dusty maintenance tunnel beneath the prison compound. Lieutenant Collins sat beside him, using a small tool to adjust the communication device Jackson had left them. Connection established, Collins whispered. Earth Command is receiving our transmission. Price leaned closer to the device. This is Commander Price. We have completed Phase 1 as planned. Over 300 prisoners are now part of our network. We are ready for Phase 2. General Carter's voice came through, distorted but clear enough. Good work, Commander. The diversion will begin in 6 hours. Be ready. Collins checked her makeshift timer. We'll be ready, General. The communication ended, and Price looked at Collins. Alert the section leaders. We move at exactly 0200 hours. Collins nodded and slipped away into the darkness of the tunnel. Price remained for a moment, thinking about how much had changed. 3 months ago, they had been helpless prisoners. Now they were soldiers again, part of a coordinated war effort. The Krazid still didn't understand what they were facing. They saw humans as just another conquered species, not realizing that every day in captivity, humans learned, adapted, and prepared. At precisely 0200 hours, alarms blared across the prison compound. But this time, they weren't responding to a prisoner escape attempt. A Krazid patrol ship had detected 6 human vessels entering the system, the largest human fleet seen near Terminus. As guards rushed to battle stations, Price gave the signal. Throughout the compound, prisoners who had been secretly working in maintenance, communications, and security stations enacted their carefully planned sabotage. Lights failed. Doors that should have locked stayed open. Communications between guard posts cut out. Captain Rick Martinez led a team of former soldiers through the darkness toward the armory. The Krazid guards they encountered were confused, expecting their backup systems to work as they always had. They weren't prepared for humans who had spent months studying their patterns and technology. In the science section, Zekval was frantically trying to secure his research data when the HFY lights in his laboratory went out. He reached for his communication device, but it emitted only static. The door slid open and a human figure stepped into the dim emergency lighting. "Hello, Director," Price said calmly. Zekval's 3 eyes widened. "How did you studied us," Price interrupted. But you never really understood us. Humans don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to win. At Earth's moon, the final preparations for the defense of humanity's homeworld were underway. Hundreds of orbital platforms, hastily constructed with new weapons technologies, formed a protective network around the planet. Every remaining military vessel had been upgraded with frequency-shifting shields and weapons designed specifically to target Krazid vulnerabilities. In a lunar bunker, Olivia Kim worked with a team of engineers on the last-minute adjustments to Earth's defensive grid. The insights she had brought from Terminus had proven invaluable. The Krazid fleet is passing Neptune, an officer reported. Estimated time to Earth orbit 6 days. General Carter studied the massive holographic display showing the approaching enemy. How many ships? Over 3,000, sir. With more following. Carter's expression remained calm. And our forces? 400 ships and 1,000 orbital platforms, plus ground-based weapons. On paper, it looked like a hopeless battle, but Carter knew better. Has the Defiant reached its position? Yes, sir. Captain Russo reports all systems ready. Carter nodded. And our special surprise? Strategic Director Warren stepped forward. The quantum communication network is online. All ships can now coordinate instantaneously without the Krazid detecting our signals. This was humanity's secret weapon, the ability to adapt tactics in real time across the entire fleet, while the hierarchical Krazid commanders had to issue orders that took time to relay. Back on Terminus, the prison uprising had succeeded beyond expectations. Price stood in the main control center, which now served as the Resistance headquarters. Around him, humans operated Krazid systems with growing expertise. Status report, he called out. Collins looked up from her console. We control 80% of the compound. The remaining guards have barricaded themselves in the eastern section. Martinez is containing them. And our bigger project? Collins smiled. The Krazid battlecruiser in the maintenance dock is ours. Their security codes were in Zekval's files. Price walked to the large window overlooking the landing field where the massive battlecruiser sat. It was one of the newer Krazid ships, brought to Terminus for resupply before joining the assault on Earth. How long until it's ready to launch? Price asked. 6 hours, Collins replied. Just enough time to reach Earth before the main Krazid fleet. Price nodded, satisfaction evident on his face despite his exhaustion. Send word to all sections. Any prisoner who wants to join the fight for Earth should report to Loading Bay 3. The rest will remain here to secure Terminus. As Collins relayed the orders, Price thought about the journey that had brought them here. The Krazid had taken them as prisoners, thinking humans would be like all the other species they had conquered, beaten, broken, and subservient. Instead, humans had studied their captors, learned their weaknesses, and turned their own technology against them. Now, instead of arriving at Earth as prisoners on Krazid ships, they would arrive as warriors on a captured battlecruiser, ready to fight alongside their people. In the Krazid throne room on their distant homeworld, Emperor Vorax received troubling news from his commanders. Not only had they lost contact with the prison world Terminus, but several supply convoys had vanished without sending distress signals. How is this possible? The Emperor demanded. These humans have primitive technology. Fleet Commander Gorlak bowed low. They are adapting faster than anticipated, Your Majesty. Learning to use our own methods against us. The Emperor's 3 eyes narrowed. It does not matter. Our main fleet will crush their homeworld in days. Then this human problem will be solved forever. But, deep in the Emperor's mind, a feeling he had not experienced in centuries began to stir. Doubt. The skies above Earth filled with the massive shapes of Krazid warships. 3,000 vessels of various sizes formed battle formations, their weapon systems powering up as they prepared to crush humanity's homeworld once and for all. On the flagship, Fleet Commander Gorlak stood proudly before a communication screen showing Emperor Vorax. We are in position, Your Majesty. Earth's defenses are significant but no match for our armada. The Emperor's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Begin the attack. I want their defenses broken within 1 day. Then you may accept their surrender." Gorlak bowed. "As you command, Emperor." In Earth's orbital defense headquarters, General Carter watched the enemy fleet's approach with a calm that surprised the officers around him. "They're arranging themselves in standard Krazid attack formation," he noted. Exactly as Olivia Kim predicted, Strategic Director Warren stood beside him. "All defense platforms are online. The Defiant and our fleet are in position." Carter nodded and opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is General Carter. The Krazid believe they come to end humanity today. Instead, they will learn why it was a mistake to attack us. Execute Operation Thunderstrike." Across Earth orbit, hundreds of defense platforms that had appeared dormant suddenly activated, their weapon systems targeting the Krazid fleet with remarkable precision. Not aiming for the massive battleships, but for the smaller command vessels hidden within the formation. At the same time, the USS Defiant and 50 other human ships appeared from behind Earth's moon, attacking the rear of the Krazid formation, where their shields were weakest. Gorlak was shocked by the coordinated assault. "How are they targeting our command ships? That information is classified." His tactical officer looked confused. "They're using some kind of communication system. We can't detect. Their attacks are perfectly synchronized." On the Defiant, Captain Russo directed the assault with precision. "Maintain frequency shifts in our shields. Keep moving. Don't let them predict our positions." The Krazid ships were more powerful, but the humans were fighting smarter. Their weapons constantly changed frequencies, preventing the Krazid shields from adapting. Their smaller, more agile vessels darted between the massive enemy ships, causing confusion and forcing the Krazid to hold fire to avoid hitting their own vessels. Still, the sheer number of enemy ships began to tell. One by one, Earth's orbital platforms fell silent as they were destroyed. Human ships, despite their advanced tactics, couldn't stand direct hits from the powerful Krazid weapons. "We've lost 30% of our forces," Warren reported grimly. "The Krazid are adapting to our tactics faster than expected." Carter's expression remained determined. "Hold the line. The second phase is coming." As if on cue, a massive Krazid battlecruiser suddenly appeared at the edge of the battle. Gorlak's tactical officer pointed at the new arrival on their screens. "Reinforcements from Terminus have arrived." But something was wrong. The battlecruiser wasn't responding to recognition signals. Instead, it opened fire, not on the human ships but on the Krazid vessels. On the bridge of the captured battlecruiser, now renamed Liberation, Commander Price sat in the captain's chair. Lieutenant Collins manned the weapons station while Captain Martinez directed the former prisoners who had learned to operate the alien vessel. "Target their flagship," Price ordered. "Use their own recognition codes to get close before they realize what's happening." The Liberation plowed through the Krazid formation, its weapons blazing. The enemy ships hesitated to fire, confused by the recognition codes being transmitted. By the time they realized the deception, the Liberation had caused massive damage and disruption to their carefully arranged formation. "This is impossible," Gorlak raged as his flagship rocked from a direct hit. "How did humans capture one of our battlecruisers?" Another officer approached him cautiously. "Commander, we're receiving strange reports from the prison world terminus. All contact with the facility has been lost." Aboard the Liberation, Collins looked up from her console. "Commander, I'm detecting a massive power surge from Earth." Below, in a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Olivia Kim finished the final calibrations on humanity's secret weapon, a device that could disrupt the quantum communication systems the Krazid used to coordinate their fleet. "System ready," she reported to General Carter via quantum link, "initializing now." Across the battlefield, Krazid ships suddenly lost contact with each other and their command vessels. Their carefully coordinated attack dissolved into confusion. "Now," Carter ordered. "All ships execute attack pattern Omega." Earth's remaining vessels, led by the Defiant, launched a concentrated assault on the Krazid flagship. With their communications in disarray, the alien ships couldn't coordinate their defense. On the Liberation, Price saw their opportunity. "Target their flagship's main reactor. All weapons, fire." The combined firepower of Earth's fleet and the captured battlecruiser tore through the flagship's weakened shields. Explosions rippled across its hull as critical systems failed. Gorlak stumbled as his command deck erupted in flames around him. "Get the Emperor back on the communication line. We need reinforcements." But there would be no help coming. The quantum disruption had severed all faster-than-light communications. As the flagship began to break apart, a small team of human commandos led by Martinez boarded through a breach in the hull. Fighting through the chaos, they made their way to the command deck. Gorlak turned in shock as the humans burst through the doorway. "How dare you?" he snarled, drawing his weapon. Martinez didn't waste time with words. His team moved with precision, born from months of fighting for survival on Terminus. Within moments, Gorlak lay dead, and the humans had seized control of what remained of the flagship. Across the battlefield, the Krazid fleet fell into disarray as word spread that their commander had fallen. Some ships continued fighting, while others began to retreat. In the orbital headquarters, Carter watched the enemy fleet's cohesion collapse. "Push the advantage. Don't let them regroup." Earth's remaining ships pressed forward, joined by hundreds of civilian vessels converted for combat. Everything from mining ships armed with industrial lasers to passenger liners carrying makeshift missiles. The sight was shocking to the Krazid, who had never encountered a species that would throw everything they had into battle with such determination. Their empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, but none had fought back like this. In the aftermath, as the remaining Krazid ships fled the solar system, Price brought the Liberation to dock with Earth's main orbital station. As he stepped through the airlock, General Carter was waiting. "Commander Price," Carter said, offering his hand. "Earth owes you and your people a great debt." Price shook the general's hand. "We just did what humans do, sir. We adapted and overcame." Behind him, the former prisoners of Terminus emerged, thinner, scarred, but unbroken. They had gone from captives to warriors, turning the enemy's own weapons against them. News of the defeat spread quickly through the Krazid Empire. For the first time in millennia, they had not just failed to conquer a species, they had been decisively beaten. Worse still, reports came in of other subjugated races rising up, inspired by humanity's example. 1 month later, aboard the USS Defiant, now leading a fleet of Earth ships and captured Krazid vessels, Captain Russo addressed his crew. "Today, we set course for the Krazid homeworld, not for revenge, but to ensure they never threaten humanity again." In the ready room, Price, Collins, and the other heroes of Terminus gathered around a star map showing the extent of the Krazid Empire. Thousands of worlds that had lived under their rule for generations. "It won't be easy," Collins said, studying the map. Price nodded. "No, but humanity isn't just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for all the species they've enslaved." As the fleet prepared to depart, a message arrived from Emperor Vorax himself, the first direct communication from the Krazid ruler to humanity. "Humans," the message began, "you have proven yourselves worthy adversaries. Perhaps we can discuss terms for peace." General Carter read the message twice before responding with just 3 words. "Unconditional surrender only." The Krazid Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had attacked humanity thinking they were dealing with just another primitive species. Instead, they had awakened a force that would change the galaxy forever.